Okay, everybody, welcome back. This is episode 42 of the More Doors podcast. And boy, do we have an amazing guest for you today. We're going to introduce him and the rest of my amazing co-hosts right after this. Everybody, welcome back. Episode 42, More Doors podcast. We are quickly chipping down to our 50th episode, which is unbelievable.
What are we going to do for our 50th?
I don't know. You threw out a suggestion about a live show from one of our favorite restaurants.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can do that, though. We can't transport all this stuff there.
We've done live
Yeah,
shows.
I've done it before.
Yeah.
It's not the most fun thing, but
Is our favorite place Mexican bar company?
Fun for us, not fun for Jesse.
Yeah.
We definitely need to do it, though. It's been quite an achievement. It's funny. I was on a call with some friends of mine in marketing yesterday, and they're like, anytime you get past 20 episodes, it's a big deal. And we're at 42. It's been quite the journey, man. I learned a lot so far.
Consistency.
Yes.
And we're going to talk a lot about consistency.
We are going to turn about elite consistency
I'm excited.
and consistently raising the bar on oneself.
There we go.
Wow.
But before we get into our guest, let's talk about our sponsors here for a second. Talk about first and foremost, Deep Blue Capital. Go check us out, deepbluere.com.
Yeah.
Subscribe to that newsletter brought to you by the one and only Brian the Force.
And ChatGPT.
And
a little assistant.
It just makes me sound better. I'm coming up with the ideas.
Yeah. It helps your spelling.
Exactly.
go check out our latest offering. We are awaiting final approval from our lender on a fantastic loan assumption deal right here in the Dallas MSA. So very exciting. Hopefully close on that here in a couple of weeks.
Thank you to our amazing investors for quickly filling those spots, because that was
Very
a fast
quickly
one.
filling.
So thank you guys so much.
Absolutely. It was definitely a great raise and a serious opportunity, and starting to hear a lot more noise in the market right now. I think the second half of the year is going to be very, very exciting, and we may also have a little bit of diversification coming into our portfolio here pretty quick,
have
right?
Some news on that pretty quickly, which I'm very excited
Very excited about. So making moves, lots going on. Also want to give a shout out. So go to deepbluere.com, subscribe, hit that subscribe button.
Smash it. You want to
Follow us,
smash it.
Go to all our socials and do the same. And then right after you do that, go navigate, put into your browser, torestudios.com, T-O-R-E studios.com, and go check out J-Dog Showalter, best beard ever. If you want to like have an amazing podcast with all kinds of neon blue uplighting and someone who can actually make the R3 gargoyles here look handsome on a regular basis, Jesse's your guy. So go over to tourstudios.com, tell him we sent you, and hopefully he'll give you a little bit of a discount. If not, sorry.
I envision a future where Jesse has his own line of beard oils that make you look good on camera.
Ooh,
It's like
I'll
a
take that.
synergistic
This
thing.
beer today is all over the place, and I think of
Yeah.
Jesse every time when it just. I
Yeah.
mean, like it's always well kept. He knows how to train it. Maybe I'll just hire you, Jesse, to come brush my beard every morning.
done. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
I don't know why I just had a vision of coming to America as you said that.
Yeah. We'll turn that half of the room into the shop there.
Before we bring our guests on, can we add one more sponsorship that we're going to have to add in the future?
For real.
It's got to be Deep Blue Insurance, because you know what? I'm really frustrated right now. I'm in charge of insurance, and this getting quotes from the insurance people sucks right now.
Yeah.
They are slow. They're super expensive,
They're
and
back
they're not
up.
very helpful.
And it feels like every time, especially here in North Texas, that we have a drop of rain, it's like the insurance companies take even longer to do stuff because they're like, we're so scared of the future.
Yeah.
All these storms, grapefruit size hail the other day.
Where?
I think in the west side of town.
It was north.
North.
Yeah, it was far
Northwest.
north. Yeah.
North. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine getting hit with it? That's like a dare. Like who's the guy on like social media? They do dares to each other, the groups of people. Like you have to stand outside.
Like Jackass?
Yeah, well, like that, but it's like a modern version. You have to stand outside during a storm with grapefruit size. Can you imagine getting hit with a grapefruit
No.
made of ice at like 100 miles an hour?
Definitely not.
I can't, but I would love to see someone else do it.
On that note,
Anyway.
it might be time to introduce our guest. This guy absolutely unbelievable. I think the audience is going to get so much value out of this. I don't even want to steal his thunder, but
No.
I think actually your job is to introduce the guest.
Well, then
I
without further
I didn't
ado,
want to let me pass the
Yeah.
gavel to you.
appreciate it. Welcome, Schuyler Williamson, man. We really, really, really appreciate the time. Welcome, brother.
No, thank you. I'm grateful to be here.
Absolutely, man. And he's got his own studio set up as well.
I was gonna say he doesn't need Jesse to make him look good because he's got the full setup, that money green background.
I love
Yeah, the ladies that set me up, their beards aren't as nice, I'm sure.
But they would be a great buyer of beard oil.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. For their yes.
Yes,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Well, welcome to the show, man. We really appreciate it. We always love to just start off. We never like to do people's own bullet points for them. So if
Yeah.
you don't mind, share a little bit about yourself, about your journey. Just kind of give us the background.
Yeah. Well, I'll just say I'm here in Austin, Texas. I'm originally from Florida, so I tell everybody the Panhandle of Florida. So I tell everybody here in Austin, I have a real Southern accent. I left Florida to go to West Point. I was a ball player, so I had two real options: go to the University of Miami and play football on scholarship, or go to West Point. And I have a humble background, and my father sat me down and just said, "Hey, look, you may make it to the NFL, but if you go to West Point, you'll never struggle like we have,
Sure.
with you." And so that was enough. I wanted a big life, so I went to West Point. Was blessed to play baseball there. So it's funny, football at Miami, I ended up playing baseball at West Point. And they changed a rule when I was there my junior year that allowed us to go play professional sports. So I left West Point and played professional baseball with Detroit Tigers. And I only did it for a year because when I graduated, it was the second year into our invasion to go get terrorists. And my younger brother had gone and fought in the battle for Fallujah in Iraq.
Wow.
All my buddies from the baseball team, all my classmates were overseas fighting. So I left baseball. Believe it or not, I was one of those guys that had the higher calling. Went and participated in the Army. And I got everything I asked for. I fought in Iraq and Afghanistan. I did the airborne, Ranger, air assault, all the things. And I believed I'd be a general in the Army, but I got married after professional baseball and before I did all this Army stuff. And one day my wife, she was putting me on it was actually the last time she was putting me on the plane to go to Afghanistan. She said, "Hey, look, I love you. I'm gonna be with you forever, but this wasn't the life that I had dreamed up for us. That I'd be gone basically all the time." And so that's all I needed to know. So I went and handled business in Afghanistan, but I told my colonel that I was getting out. I was a captain at the time in the Army. And as soon as I got back from Afghanistan, I came back to Austin. We were at Fort Bragg in North Carolina at the time. And my wife as soon as I said, "Hey, you know what, I'll get out," she literally packed the house. And before I had landed in Afghanistan, she had already was moving stuff back to Austin. She just knew she wanted to come back here.
Yeah.
And, we've been blessed to be in a city that's been thriving, since we moved back. And I took the GMAT in Afghanistan and applied to the University of Texas Business School, Macomb School of Business, somehow got in. So I got my MBA from UT, and that's what, guys that go to West Point and they get their undergrad in engineering and then become an infantryman for 6 years. That's what they do. They have to go back to business school because you can't be an engineer anymore.
Sure.
You haven't practiced it in 6 years.
Yeah.
So I got my MBA from UT. I graduated number 3 in the class there.
Wow.
Which was good for me because I got the lowest score on the GMAT out of everybody that got in that year. I just took mine in the desert.
Yeah.
And then, I went and worked for Schuyler Williamson, their corporate office, for 6 years. And they made a change in their CEO and president. And at that time, I wasn't aligned with the leadership. And so I went into the field, became a realtor. And I've been a realtor with a sales business ever since. I started a construction company in 2019. We do urban infill development. We do about 50-50 spec versus custom. We didn't set out to be a custom home builder, but when the market shifted, you stay nimble as a businessman, right? So we decided to move into the spec or into the custom business because, we can build a nice house. They're signing on the debt. So it's a better deal for us.
Sure.
So we went into that custom world. So we're 50-50 right now. We build about 15 homes a year in Austin. Our price points from 2 million to 4 million. So we kind of, believe it or not, that's the middle of the urban infill market. We don't want to be the cheap stuff, but we're not trying to spend 3 years building a house that's going to sell for 8-10 million.
Right.
We want to kind of shoot the middle there. I own 4 laundromats. I can tell that story. And then we own a portfolio of homes. I've got some with partnerships, and I've got some that my wife and we just own on our own. And it's a mix of retail, commercial real estate, and single family residential.
Wow.
So, now I'm after influence. You guys are running this podcast, so you got an idea of how to go build influence. And so I'm doing a lot of things right now to build my influence, and I know that'll generate talent for my businesses. That'll generate more leads for my businesses. But I want to leave the world a better place than I found it. So the influence also is for me to try to maybe push an agenda of love deeper into this world the best I can, anyways.
Yeah. Wow. There's a lot there, man. Probably the most thorough backstory we've probably had on the podcast.
Absolutely.
So far, man.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it. There's a lot of insight there,
Yeah.
and a lot that we want to dive into.
Yeah.
Well, first off, thank you for your service.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Oh, man,
going
it's my honor.
overseas and all that, and then being able to stay focused on the back home life too while you're over there, taking the GMAT and everything else.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just look at the, it's the focusness that you have, and maybe you're just trying to fill time out there too. But I mean that whole story, the setup is.
Absolutely.
There's no reason why you won't be successful just because of everything you've done.
Yeah. I mean, I pulled so much out of just the military part of it, right? Going in, using your dad's influence and kind of the desire for a better life to help you make the decision on where to go to school. I mean, I've heard things, and it was probably not easy to say no to going to University of Miami.
You?
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
It
And
was,
then,
it was a wild recruiting visit. I'll say that.
I can only imagine. I can only imagine. And then you said, you went to Ranger School in the service, and you were a captain when you chose to leave.
Yeah, I was so my last rank was captain, right? That's when I exited.
So walk us through the Ranger piece for a second, and then like, how quickly did you move up to captain? If you can just give us a little bit of insight on that, because it seems to me like you were set on this whole, I'm going to be the best of the best in whatever I do for perpetuity.
Yeah, I came out of the womb as a person that just hungered for excellence. I mean, that would be my word if I had one. That I wake up every day and I just try to just be that. And I have 2 kids. We talk about that at our house all the time, and they're still young, so it's probably just going in one ear and out the other. But I desire them to see excellence in me, health, spiritually, professionally, in all regards. And I had that young. I remember going out there and running wind sprints just to get faster, because somebody told me, well, if you want to play at the next level, you got to be fast. And, and obviously, I lifted weights and hit off the tee in the backyard. I mean, I did all these things to just be excellent at my craft. And so Ranger School was another part of that. I'd gone to schools, and the Army spent a lot of money on me, just dialing me into what they wanted me to be. But one of the schools that I chose to go to was the Ranger School. And if you want to be a combat arms leader at the highest level, you go to Ranger School. And so I was a big guy at Ranger School, and I weigh 220 pounds right now. When I went into Ranger School, I weighed 225. So I was still in that professional athlete body type.
Sure.
And I lost 50 pounds in 60 days at that school. So I was not a great fit for the school, like body wise. My body didn't like not eating or sleeping. It really wore me down. But it's the Army's premier leadership school. And if you're going to be a ground warrior or just a warrior in general, then you're going to go and learn the things that you need to learn. And that school gives you a lot of them. And I think the one thing that the school does really well is it will push you to the brink of falling apart mentally, but physically first to get to your mental. Because everybody's mentally strong when they go there and physically strong, but they break you down physically so that the mental part of your game is weak too. And then they just keep pushing it. But the deal is can you lead when you're mentally weak?
Right.
And that's the whole goal of the Ranger process, is to see, can you do it when everything else is against you? Because those soldiers are used at the highest kinetic level possible. And we can't have guys turning around and running away. And man, the guys that you call Ranger, they won't quit. They won't quit. They proved it. And I could tell you listen, I kicked open doors in Iraq where I knew somebody was going to shoot at me on the other end of it. Never thought once about quitting. And I fought every day for 1.5 years in Baghdad. At Ranger School, there was a point where I was considering quitting every 5 minutes. I was just so beat down. But I was able to step up and lead. And I, it's just, man, when you're pushed that far and you're still able to go get the job done, when you go out into the normal operating environment, like what I'm in today, in this like air conditioned room, using a computer and all this, and it could be the most challenging work that most people come up against. And for me, it's just another task. Yeah. It really is.
Yeah. That's incredible. It feels like nothing compared to what
seriously.
Sure.
Yeah. Combat was nothing compared to Ranger School. I mean, that was the gift that school gave me.
That's how I know it's effective, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible. I want to get to all the real estate stuff and I want to do all that, but this is going to kill me if I don't ask this question.
Yeah.
Going to school, you were choosing between the University of Miami and West Point.
Yeah.
And so from my understanding, you didn't wake up and you talk about, coming out of the womb being, focused on excellence, but it doesn't seem like at a young age you were looking for a role as a battlefield warrior, right? Because you were deciding between Miami, which is about as far away from West Point as you can get, and going to West Point and then playing professional baseball. You chose the path that some athletes have when they feel like there's a higher calling. And you walked away from professional baseball to go serve, which is about the most noble thing I think a person could do. Tell us about that decision a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I've been goal focused or just focused on excellence in my craft from the very beginning. So when I was very young, it became clear to me that my parents weren't going to be able to pay for my college. And I remember having a conversation with my father, like, hey, how are the different ways that you can get to college and not be saddled with debt? And my dad said, well, you can get a scholarship to play ball and they'll pay for you to go to school and they'll feed you and they'll do all these things. They'll house you. And I thought that sounded pretty good. I was smart, but I was God gifted me with a great body to go be athletic with. And so I was like, okay, well, if that's the way to college, then I'll just go be the best at baseball or football and get to college. I mean, it was just a thing for me. And so I outworked everyone until I got my opportunities. And I had a lot of opportunities. I narrowed it down to the two. But my focus was becoming a professional athlete until that conversation with my father. And really my focus became, he helped me clarify it. Cause I wanted to be a professional athlete, but my father said, well, the reason why you want to be a professional athlete is because you don't want to struggle. You want a bigger life. And there's another way to that. And so he helped me work through that. I didn't have the maturity at 18 years old to say, well, there are other ways to a bigger life than just professional sports. I had used professional sports to get me to that point. And so I went to West Point and I made that dream a reality, and it was a goal accomplished. And so then at West, let me back up. At West Point, they teach you to desire to serve. The core of leadership is to go serve your people. It's not to have them say yes, sir, to you. It's you're washing their feet, right? Like you're helping them.
Yep.
And so I had that deep inside me. In my younger brother actually came and made the decision real easy for me. He came back from Baghdad, and he was in rough shape. Yeah, he couldn't sleep. He became an alcoholic because he had to drink himself to sleep. That's the only way he could fall asleep. And thankfully, which is a whole nother story that's super interesting. But thankfully, he found a guy that said, "Hey, I can help you get to sleep. You just come work out in my gym." The first night my brother went and worked out at the gym, he couldn't have a drink after that because he was so tired. He fell asleep. And then he did that every day until he became a professional cage fighter.
Yeah.
He was 18-0 as a professional when he retired. So
you were serious about the cage fighting stuff before the show, weren't you?
I wanted to sleep. That guy that invited him that first day saved his life.
Yeah.
But I got to talk to the damaged brother that couldn't sleep, that was drinking. And he shared some stories about his leadership that I took a step back and said, you know what? I may not be the best leader in the military, but man, I'm going to care about my soldiers and I'm going to lead them the best that I can. And I just, there was a part to play there. I wanted to serve. My brother was over there. Somebody else's brother's over there. So in the end, it was a very easy decision because one, I had accomplished the goal of making it to the professional leagues. I got to see and taste that. Yeah. But then my younger brother coming to me, it just hit too close to home. So I already wanted to serve anyways. That just gave me the perfect reason to go do it.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense, man. I really appreciate you sharing that. Absolutely. I want to dive into the real estate stuff and everything. I know that you probably got like a million questions in that regard. You want to take it? Okay.
Drive.
Sure. No. So you had an abrupt kind of turn in your story there. You went into corporate side with Keller Williams, and then went into the sales side as well. Yeah. Take us through that aspect, building the sales team specifically, right? What did that part of the journey look like for you?
Yeah, I transitioned. So one of the things about Keller Williams, if folks don't know it, is at the corporate office, they beat their chest that they're agent led. And so every executive there had to have their realtor license, and whether I sold real estate or not, that didn't matter as much as just being an active agent. So I already had my license, and I was seeing these guys living these big lives, and they were 100% commissioned, but they weren't hurting for money. I'll say that. And I got to hang around a lot of them, and I just started thinking to myself, well, I know the model, we teach it. From the corporate office. So I'd been working on my wife for a while on letting me go be an entrepreneur. And, her background was even more humble than mine. So, we kind of grew up with nothing. So it shapes a little bit of who we are. And so we were scared to go full entrepreneur. But when they made the leadership change, it made it easy. So I stepped in, and I had an assistant at the time. And I love her. And to this day, I mean, she might as well be my sister. She's still my assistant today. Wow. And, she kind of said, look, I want you to go be an entrepreneur, but take me with you. and so believe it or not, my first day as an agent, I had an assistant because that was my commitment to her. And she had proven herself that she could double my production by being in my life. And to this day, she does the same thing. Wow. And I'm so grateful for her. But I did what you're supposed to do when you're growing a sales team. You start with admin. And the admin are the value to the agents that you pull into your business. So I had ultimately hired 3 full-time admin before I brought in another agent to be a part of the team.
Wow.
So, we had all the processes dialed in. We had a full platform that an agent could plug into. We had all the tools that they needed. We had the leads. We had the large database. We had a full business, and I was just running around like crazy. I think I think the last, and this isn't that impressive compared to some other agents out there. I know that, but I think the last year that I was on my own, I did 75 transactions, and I just felt like, I mean, it's just, I had young kids. It just was like, man, it isn't worth doing all this.
Sure.
The money's great, but my phone never stops. I'm always running. So I said, okay, well, I've got the platform now. I built it the right way. Let's go recruit some agents. And so I've recruited a couple agents to the team. I'm of the mindset of have fewer first-class agents than a whole bunch that I've got to babysit. I'm not interested in babysitting. I want elite soldiers, right?
Yep.
So we stay small. We're very admin heavy. So I even look at my construction company as a part of the admin team, because the origin of the construction company was to go build another lead generation method for me, and that the signs in front of the specs would get signed calls. Those are great buyers to work with. Made sense to me. That's why we did it. Now we make a profit in that company, but originally it was for more leads for the team.
Sure.
And so that's a part of my admin team. So we're super admin heavy, and I think our agents appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're of a very, very similar mindset. Nick and I have a similar background. We each run residential sales teams, and mine is still with Keller Williams, and certainly through the last 18 months, it's become very apparent that partnering with the elite agents, right, and bringing them as much value as possible is a lot. It's a lot different than running what we used to call a body shop, right? We had 40 agents at one point, and it was, like you'd say, talk about your phone never stopping, but not always A-level talent being the one that makes it stop ringing.
I didn't sign up to babysit. I don't want to babysit, and I don't, when you're not doing the work, I don't want to have to tell you why you're not making money.
100%.
I'd rather say, hey, look, why don't you go do this? And then they go run out the door and do it. And then they go close the deal. Like that's who I want to be in business with.
You find yourself in a world, and this is not to be derogatory, but running that body shop style you can constantly find yourself where the conversation level in your world is down here. And it's very emotionally draining as a leader, because I know what gives me energy is surrounding myself with people that are smarter than me, harder working than me, like people that are contributing to me in the same way that I'm trying to bring value to them. And that's why I try to surround myself like you do with elite operators. So well, I appreciate you sharing that. So the construction company came as a kind of a vertical to bring more leads into the sales business. Segue a little more into the investment side. You're running the sales team, you're running Ragged, you've got the construction company, you're working 1 million hours a week. I can only imagine. How does the investment journey start to dovetail off of all that? Yeah.
Well, we call it taking chips off the table. I mean, we've always lived off half our income, my wife and I. We've never had a year where we looked like we lived more on half our income.
Sure.
So half that income's to live on and enjoy our life, and the other half we invest it all. And so we've taken advantage of opportunities. In the beginning, we didn't have a whole lot of leads coming in for alternate investments. So we just bought single family homes, and we accumulated 10 to 12 of those. And we always just bought homes that we knew were in great areas and floor plans that we thought we could move in there and live as a family and enjoy it. So that's kind of the way we approach it. And back in the day, Austin would cash flow when you bought it. It ain't that way.
A lot of places would.
Yeah. So so it worked, right? We just did the math and we said, hey, we live here and it cash flows, so let's just buy it. And luckily we were buying those 8 to 10 years ago. And our goal was to buy one a year. I mean, we reread the Millionaire Real Estate Investor book, and the model there is to buy one investment property a year for 15 years straight, and you'll be set. And so we're like, all right, well, if that's it, we'll just do that. We'll just buy one a year for the next 15 years. And we were on that path. Now our investor journey got a little bit more complicated because we had more leads coming in for alternate investments, and we grew too as more savvy investors. But we still invest in single family homes. I mean, I had a manager with one of our laundromats who was making good money and is a great worker. I mean, I know her. She works for me, and she's like, man, I just can't find a place to live. I was like, well, you know what? I know who you are. I'll buy a single family home and you live in there, pay me this rent, and you know, we'll take care of each other.
Mhm.
And that was the last single family home we bought. But you can see, like, we still are just accumulating those as it makes sense. But you know, yeah, we invest in these development deals alongside our other equity partners. We own the real estate that our laundromats are in. Obviously, we're owners of the laundromats. You know, we're a partner in a title company now that is a very good investment. So we're open to everything now. We're open to investing in businesses because we believe that businesses will change generational wealth. But certainly we're willing to buy real estate because not only will real estate make you more wealthy, but it could replace, you know, if we wanted to slow down, that could be cash flow that would replace our vertical income. And that's very attractive too, to just have a free lifestyle.
Yeah. How did you, Schuyler, how did you learn how to dial yourself into some of these alternate investment types, right? So obviously as a realtor, right, you have access to MLS, probably daily deal flow, right, where you can really pick and choose where you want it to be. You know your areas, you can set up the alerts and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But you're into buying businesses, title companies, laundromats, right?
Yeah.
How did you all of a sudden open the floodgates to get these kinds of leads, and what did you do in order to, you know, get comfortable with which ones you were how did you decide which ones you were going to be comfortable with, and then ultimately which ones of those were good investments?
Oh, man, I've been blessed that all of them have been good investments so far. So that's, yeah, I would say I haven't run into a really bad problem that I couldn't fix. Now we've run into problems, but we've been able to fix them all. No, I think how they started showing up in my life was two things. One, I became known as a very good operator. And so I have a track record of success. And a lot of times these investors or people of high net wealth, they get to a point in their life where they don't want to run things down anymore. So they're happy to partner with younger, hungry folks that are willing to do all the work as long as they can have your ear to ask questions to. And then it's a win-win, right? The young investor gets into deals that maybe they have no business getting into because they'll hustle. But the investor that's trying to slow down but still wants their money to work for them, they don't have to do as much. You know, they've got a guy that they can trust who has a track record and a pedigree that's, you know, that they know they can lean up against. And so I got deals that came to me because I was an operator with a good reputation that people knew. And they were, hey, we want you to be in this deal. And don't worry about how much you can put in right now. We know you'll earn it. Come in and be a part of this with us. And so that was one way. And then the other way is, just growing the caliber of the person that I hang around. And as you level up with the people that are in your life, and you start to see that they're as hungry as you are, well, you take all the work that you're doing, and if you've got 5 buddies like you, multiply it by 5, because you all care about one another. You're all hustling, bringing in deals, and just through sheer networking and friendship and partnership, more deals come to you. And again, you to be able to do that, you've got to have a reputation and track record of excellence or of success, or, I am who I say I am. I'm a genuine person. So I think it was just networking, reputation, and then being very willing to go help somebody make some more money with their money. Like I worked my way into those opportunities.
Yeah. Walk us through, Schuyler. Selfishly, I'm interested in the laundromat. That's something I've told you before we started this, and I keep sending Brian. I think it's the same one. I mean, there's two of them. There's 2 of them that I've been following on Facebook Marketplace, and walk us through the first one you bought, like underwriting that, and what has that been what does that look like as a business now? You've got 4 of them, so obviously there's some decent money in that. And where do you think that business evolves to as technology improves, and just the outlook of owning that business as an investment?
Yeah. You know, what's interesting is you already know that I started the construction company because it satisfied a real estate need. We bought a commercial retail center that had 5 units, and 4 of the units, our agent got them leased real fast. And then at about the year mark, we were like, man, we're not going to lease this 5th unit. And listen, as an investor, it's not okay to just allow vacancy to sit in your property. I mean, that's not okay. So, you know, being a curious businessman, I was like, okay, well, what businesses could we plug in such that once they got operating, they could pay market rent and still cash flowed very quickly? And so we looked at Pizza Huts, we looked at indoor storage, we looked at all these different models and settled on laundry. Laundry's got great financing on the machines. You know, there's some tax advantages to laundry as well. And the tenants of a retail strip center love a laundromat because a laundromat customer comes every single week.
Yeah, they bring
every single week. So the impressions of their signage go up. And so we found ourselves in a situation where we could start a business that runs, you know, fairly on its own, doesn't require a lot of oversight. It increased the value to our current tenants, so we can increase rents over time, and it could pay market rent and still be profitable, which increased the value of our real estate. We were like, all right, this is it. So then it just comes down to, again, just running a business. So find talent, create processes, you know, be smart about all your decisions as far as like how you're going to please the customer and what your value proposition is going to be and how you're going to, you know, beat your competition. I mean, it's the same stuff we did in our other businesses. We just bring it to the laundry world. And look, our stores are very sophisticated. I could log in right now and tell you right now to the cent how much money they've made this day and what machines are making the money and, you know, all of that. It's so dialed in now from a technology standpoint. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
And we've got cameras all throughout the store so we can see what our employees are doing. I mean, it is a very leveraged asset at this point in my life.
Wow.
And so we built them that way from the beginning, and that store got to profitability. Well, you know, we had to get through COVID, and that was a little bit of a hiccup, but it was profitable. Well, it was profitable very quick. It was cash flow positive in about 20 months. And, and you know, today it's 60 to 65,000 a month in revenue. That's how much clothes we're washing. And it doesn't cost that much to run those things. So we're very healthy with that store. We've gotten better at every single store we've opened. In our newest store, which is located next to a grocer, I mean, they're doing $85,000 a month right now in revenue. I mean, it'll blow your hair back when you look at the numbers.
So your journey, well, appreciate you sharing, because I just saw Nick's eyes just like turn a different color.
Yeah, he just became the dollar sign emoji.
Listen, we again, remember, we're real estate guys. So we found the real estate, and it happened to work for laundromats. So our whole commercial real estate approach now is to find retail locations that fit for laundry. But we're very willing to build them from the ground up because we want the real estate to be right no matter what. And then we'll make the business successful.
So that was my other question is where you're putting these. Do you also own, the other 3, do you own those locations as well? Or do you just renting the space?
We own the real estate. Yeah.
So
I mean,
I'm sorry. No, go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, it's a way to pay the land off, right? To pay the bill. Yeah.
And it cash flows pretty quickly. That's just such an interesting journey because it came out of a necessity, right? Fill a vacancy, and you just started looking at different models. What did we just kind of explored the whole journey, but dive a little deeper for us on the first location. You go from blank, empty, vacant space. You've got to do some sort of, I'm assuming, build out. You've got to order machines, get all that up and running. Like, how did that progress? How long did it take you to build out the first location? And like, what are some of the really key things you learned along the way that you would do again, wouldn't do again? Like, what does it look like to take a blank space and go, I'm going to learn a whole new business and we're starting tomorrow?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just like anything, your leverage is three things, right? Your leverage is your processes, your technology, and your people. And I'm very good at hiring and training up and holding accountable teammates. I'm good at that. You know, that's why I've been known as an operator. But I will say, in the laundry business specifically, the partners that you use to help you get launched, your distributor for your machines, I mean, your vending machine people that come in and consult and help you out, the folks that consult on the layout of the store and the build out, the marketing folks that are out there that help you position your store and set up your initial marketing signage and kind of ads and all of that. I mean, they're so important in the retail space. They really are. I mean, I'd never done anything retail before this, and I can tell you that as we've built the stores, we figured out how to dial in the exact location that makes the most sense and the exact layout of the stores. But to get the first one open, it was incredibly dependent on our advisors, who happen to be a lot of our vendors, to do it the right way based on their experience. Yeah. And we were, look, again, I'm from the military. Like, the tactics have been the tactics for a very long time. Like, if you give me the field manual, I will study it and I will become an expert in it. Yeah. And so I soaked all that in from these guys that have been in the industry for 25, 30 years and what they were coaching us on. And I used it as our base model. And that first store was successful. I mean, it's not as successful as some of our other stores because we've learned and we've innovated on their models. Yep. But the base model came from just learning from these people that were doing it already for dozens of years.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to segue probably from that to talk a little bit about your book and things like that. But it sounds, without diving too deep in this, it sounds like you were just, I mean, this is your whole background, is successful people leave clues. There are models and systems for everything, right? And you are the type of guy, you came into, I think Keller Williams is probably about the preeminent models and systems, real estate brokerage, real estate company. And you came in, picked up a book, I'm assuming it was read, and said, this is how we're going to run our real estate business, and then just execute it. Same with, going into laundry, you're like, I'm sure people have been successful as before. Who do I need to know, and what do I need to know from them? Right. Yeah. That's such a valuable leadership quality, and also one that I think is very humbling and keeps you very grounded. I think that entrepreneurs that get really off in the weeds with trying to iterate and innovate right out of the gate are a lot of the times the people that get very spread thin and create a lot of chaos in their world. And to have the humility to go, I'm going to be learning based first and do exactly what I know works before I iterate on anything. That's a really great quality.
Let me, Schuyler, before we get to your book and what you're doing in the corporate world, this kind of plays into you starting your career out at Keller Williams. You're still with Keller Williams and building that success, and then moving into the construction company, and then reading The Millionaire Investor, which is written by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan, I believe. And then moving into, the laundromats and everything else that you've touched. You're very strategic, it seems like, and also very driven. So this is something that I've had people ask me over the last couple of years, and I struggle with this. And this is something that was asked at just recently. Gary Keller's top 200 mastermind just got out. Right. And so this was, the question is, how much money is enough? Right. Do you have a number, or what is your end zone? And like, what are you playing for? And I will start number one, just for our podcast host here. I want to ask every investor this, because I struggle with this, because I am I'm a person that it's always not wanting more out of greed, but always pushing ourselves to push the envelope and keep going and keep growing. Because if we're not growing, we're dying. So what is your end zone? What's the lifestyle? Is there a certain money? And then you're like, all right, this is it. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, no, I'm grateful for the question. I was in the room with you. We just didn't see each other. We got everything we ever need. Like we could take our net wealth and divide it by 4% and live off that and be really happy. But I'm faith driven. And I believe that, this isn't my money. This is God's money, and that I'm responsible for stewarding it. So I will never turn off the amount of money that I could have flow through me to the right people. And so I don't have a limit. I don't have a limit. Now I have boundaries around my life. My kid's dad shows up every day at 5:10. Like I leave the office every day at 5. That's non-negotiable. So I'm not going to sacrifice the father that I want to be for more money. I'm not going to do that. But I'm not going to stop building. Like I'm hungry. I'm a hungry person, and I've got gifts. And you know what? I know what I will do with the money. I will steward it the right way. I'll give it to the right people. And so if I have $1 billion in the bank, I know how much I'll give away. I don't need all that. And I hope I'm challenged that way. So I am achiever. And the biggest thing with achievers is we will move the goalpost. But I think what we have to do is go, well, what's our purpose? Right. And my purpose is beyond this world. So the money is not what drives me. Achievement does drive me, but it's not about the money. I hope I make a lot of money so I can help a lot of people. That's it.
Yeah. There's something about how you've described all your experiences that tells me that, it's not necessarily about the money. The money is the byproduct, but it's the challenge. It's the process, right? It's the learning. It's the leveling up that I think you are just, like you said, right? Born out of the womb, focused on excellence. I think that just is absolutely innate and is just a constant clock inside of you. And it just keeps ticking, and you just want to go up and to the right all the time. And the money just becomes the byproduct. But how many people you serve, how many people you touch, right? How many people you can impact. That to me is just kind of clear as day from this conversation.
Oh yeah. 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 And I fought so hard in my young 20s. It was my job, and I believed in what I was doing. My next chapter of my life, I'm just going to love and I'm going to give. I mean, that's where I'm at in life. Now I'm going to build because I'm a builder. Like it's in me. It's the gift I have. So I'm going to just keep building. But in this next chapter of my life, I'm going to love and give. That's what I'm after.
Love that, man.
That's amazing.
That's awesome, brother.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier, I want to be considerate of everybody's time here, but you're also spearheading three amazing efforts, right, in order to build your influence and amplify your impact. So corporate battlefield, right, the money mission, you have a great YouTube channel, and the book. So can you break those down for our audience, if you don't mind?
Yeah. Just so to be consistent here, in the military, we used to say leaders are readers. So I'm a reader. When I decided that I was after influence, I was like, okay, well, let me go read 3 or 4 books on how to become an influencer. And, these guys that are influencers, they've all written a book. They all have podcasts or YouTube channels, and they all have masterminds. And I wasn't doing any of those things. So I was like, all right, well, I'm after influence. There's a model. I'm going to go do it. So Corporate Battlefield is a mastermind that we've been doing for a little over a year now, of a group of folks that locally come here in Austin. We do it virtual too. But we're building wealth, and we're increasing our leadership together. I'm inviting speakers to come in and just kind of coach us up on that. And we're real curious around it. And my thought is that influence in the world today comes from those who have the most leadership responsibility and those who have the most money. I mean, look at who was our president not too long ago. You know, if you got enough, you'll have influence and you could be the president of the United States. So we're doing that, and we were doing such a good job with the mastermind. I was having 75, 80 people come to this thing on a monthly basis. So I was like, you know what? No more free lunch. At the end of it, I said, it's like going to church. You know, if you guys got value out of this, text this number. I don't care if it's $5. I don't care if it's 200, text this number. And so now we've given tens of thousands of dollars away to teachers in financial need, because these teachers, they have so much responsibility to raise the next group of leaders of our world. They spend more time with my kids than I do, and they don't make any money. It's completely service. And so we're not changing the whole landscape, but we're taking all that money and we're giving it away. And I hope the mastermind continues to grow, so that we can give that money away. And I challenge anybody that listens to your podcast to maybe go figure out a way to give teachers money.
That's awesome.
And they're getting value, so I don't feel bad about asking them to give me money. The YouTube channel, it's Money Mission, and money. So it's me and a gal that works with me, Jenny. I'm sharing all of the lessons learned of my current deals and kind of the ones I'm evaluating and how I'm building my wealth. And then Jenny is at the very beginning of building her wealth, and she's along the journey with me. And so it's how are we building our wealth together as a beginner and as somebody that's kind of reaching that next echelon, and then how are we giving? Yeah, because now giving is a big part of what I want people to take away from me. I'm sharing how I'm giving to, and then the book was the third piece of that model to build influence. And I was like, well, man, what book do I have in me? Well, I've got pretty good leadership stories from the military and, this kind of entrepreneurial deal. So I wrote this book titled The Steady Leader. And it's 3 sections. How do you lead yourself so that you can be a steady leader? And if you do that well, then you get to go lead a team. So how do I lead a team as a steady leader? And if you do that well, then you get to lead a company. How do I lead a company as a steady leader? And so I've taken all the models that I deploy in my life as a leader of myself, my team, and my business, and I put that in a book that I hope blesses people. But ultimately, it's all about influence, and I'm hoping that the book will give me that influence for folks to speak to folks.
Love it. First off, how do people get the book?
Yeah, right now you're just going to have to go to my website, schuylerwilliamson.com, and just connect with us. We're working on the art right now, and kind of you have to knock the art of the book out so that you can have a landing page. So we're still working on that. But look, follow me on LinkedIn. Every morning I post on LinkedIn my journal entry from the book that I read in the morning. So I read every morning. We're going to tell the world when it's available for pre-order.
Love that.
So go follow him on LinkedIn, and then just go to his website.
We'll put all that in the show notes as well.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
I will tell you that, not just because you're here, Schuyler, this has been one of my favorite episodes.
Nice.
And I am one of the episodes. So, I mean, just how you defined, what is enough, and you have that. I think that number one, we're going to break that down and use that, and I think that should be, a staple probably on any investor's journey. Because why do we do this?
Yeah.
Why does anybody? Why would you go to Deep Blue Capital and invest money? Like, why are we doing this?
Yep.
It's not just about the money. It's about, what we can do to help our investors, and, what it can do for your community. And it's that ripple effect.
Yeah.
Money doesn't solve problems, but it sure does help when problems arrive.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, and how good do you feel when you can help somebody solve their money problem? Yeah. I mean, listen, we give the money to the teachers, but who ends up feeling the best afterwards? It's us.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a good feeling.
Absolutely. What's the charity that you donate that money to, or is it just a fund or something?
I pay taxes on the money and I just give it straight to people. We have a little bit of a sales funnel for teachers that kind of raise their hand, like ask for help.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just pay so you would send it to me. I pay taxes on it as income, and then I just under the table give it to the teachers as a gift.
Wow, that's amazing.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, brother.
Wow.
We're gonna buy a bunch of copies of that book.
Yeah, no, I that's something that we'll do as a giveaway for our people. You know, I think we've been talking about putting a mastermind together, and I think number one, that will be, you know, leaders are readers, and they need to read that book. So
Absolutely.
we truly appreciate it.
Yeah, we got to get down to Austin and attend one of your masterminds in person.
Yeah, we got a bunch
Oh,
of people
I'd love
to
that.
be down there. We got to
We
get
do.
a big dinner with all of our Austin friends together. Get Brian, Schuyler, everybody.
We could check one off the list, though.
There we go.
Schuyler, thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us. This is absolutely amazing. Aside from LinkedIn, do you want anybody else? Do you want to direct anybody else, or
Yeah.
direct our audience
Go to-
anywhere else?
Yeah, go to the website, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You know, look, we're giving it all away. I mean, it's, you know, we're just telling you what we're doing. So hopefully I can help people increase their wealth and leadership. And then my expectation would be is that they go out with that new influence and leave the world a better place.
Absolutely, brother.
Love it. Love
Amazing.
it. Well, here's what I'm going to ask, because you've listened all the way through this, right? So first and foremost, go on Spotify, go on our podcast, leave us a 5-star review, because this was phenomenal. Then go to the YouTube channel, subscribe, leave some comments in there. Any comments, any questions, we can direct it back to Schuyler as well, or answer for ourselves. And then look, if you're looking to want to learn to become a better investor, maybe you're a business owner, you're an executive, and you don't know what to do with your money right now, you want to dip your toe in it, just go to deepbluere.com. Sign up there, get on that newsletter, see the offerings that we have here, because there's plenty of them coming through. We have a lot of new investors signing up, just like the last project that we're about to close out. A lot of new investors coming in, and they're super excited about that opportunity. And by the way, you get tax benefits, for that. So one of the biggest thefts of wealth is paying taxes. So we're going to help kind of show you how to maybe beat that a little bit. We're not CPAs, for full disclosure, but go to deepbluere.com. And then if you picked up on what Schuyler was saying, that influence is also, it's also a wealth builder. So you need to go to tourstudios.com. You can start a show, podcast, create videos just like this, and get with Jesse over at tourstudios.com. But just go back and leave a 5-star review. Share this out, because this is
gold.
This is
This
one
is
for the
gold.
sharing, for
Absolutely.
sure.
100%. Whew, Schuyler, we appreciate it, man. We'd love to do it again when time allows soon. We would love to have you back on it and learn more about your journey and what you've got going on, man. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. I'm grateful for you guys.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening, everybody. Episode 42 in the books, and we'll see you next time.